All right. Thumbs up. We're back, Ken. Cool. All right. So as I was saying, welcome to our What's New Spring 2022 event. I'm Fatima, the Director of Customer Success here at Beautiful. Joining me today is Ken Gracia, our CSM extraordinaire. And together we're going to be going over all of the upcoming features, enhancements, and some new templates. All of the features demoed today will be available in just under 2 weeks. But we're super excited for you all to get a quick sneak peek of what's to come. A couple of logistics before we begin. If you have to jump off, don't worry about it. This is a recorded event, and we're going to email you a deck with a recap of everything we discussed, along with the actual video afterwards. Feel free to drop any questions you have in the it's like a little QA box at the bottom of the Zoom window. If we don't get to your session during the session, if we don't get to your question during the session or during the Q&A portion, someone will be emailing you after the event. This demo will go over our new features regardless of your plan status. So if you are a basic user, pro, or team user, you will have access to the features that we're going to be demoing today. A little bit about us. We've officially launched Beautiful in 2019 with the idea that there has to be a better way to build presentations, and other than that, traditional manual authored versions that were out there. So by incorporating design rules and the best practices of design, we built a product that made it dramatically quicker and easier for non-designers to create compelling and really good-looking slides. That being said, we are constantly evolving to the needs of our user base, which sort of birthed what we've internally been calling our Canvas Polish release. Our new updates are all centered around enhancements and polishing the app. We've spent the last 6 months combing over the app to make workflows faster, give users more control over colors and layouts, as well as some other great new features. In short, we've just improved and simplified the UX. Spearheaded by our CTO and founder, Mitch Grasso, our engineers have been grueling away at improving performance and cleaning up some odds and ends on the front side, meaning the things that you all see, and on the back end, which are things that we all see on the internal side. When I tell you today's demo only scratches the surface of all of the amazing features that have been built and that will be released in 2 weeks, I'm not kidding. I've cherry-picked my favorites of the features that are going to be coming out, but there are a ton more that we won't be discussing in this video. So look out for a comprehensive list in 2 weeks of all the features that we're going to be updating. So today's demo will be broken into 3 parts. I'll be covering some of our new features and enhancements, and then Ken will close us out by introducing 3 new templates, and then we're going to move into the Q&A portion. So without further ado, let me switch up my share really quick. So the first section that we're going to go over are some new color controls. One of the guardrails that we built into the product has always been around text color. So if you set the color in the theme, that's the only color that you were able to use throughout the product. That's what the AI uses. It was meant to prevent you from making mistakes, from having multiple colors on a slide that may not fit together or were off-brand. And we recognize that while we do stand by our decision that there should be guardrails around text, we know that y'all are going to have times where you do need multiple versions of colors. So let's see, how can I turn this off? We're going to go right into the editor. And now we've added this new color icon feature right here. And this is essentially going to allow you to select color or select text on your screen and then set it to whatever color you want. Before this update, so currently today as the product exists, you are only limited to 1 color per slide that you would set here on the left-hand menu. But now all you got to do is just highlight text or a series of texts or words, and then you can go ahead and set all the different colors that you want. The colors that are being pulled are from your edit theme section. So even though you now have the option to select and change different text colors, you are still limited with the branded colors that you've set in the edit theme section. Not only have we added this color drop to text, but we've also added it to icons. So I'm going to switch to the next slide. Now you're going to be able to adjust the icon in shapes. So previously, this was the only way. You would just click this and then it would change all of the icons. But we understood that there were cases where sometimes you did need to sort of change up one icon or have a different order. So now all you have to do, there goes that color option here. You can click on any one of these colors here. And then we've also now included a new set of like styles that we're calling styles, and you can have an outline, muted, filled, fill and stroke. For those of you of our power users, you're familiar with this. This normally just lives in the edit theme section where if you set the shape style in there, that's it. It would be the shape style across all the deck. But now you have more power and more control for isolated cases like this one. So that one could be that color. I could make this one a filled version, or maybe the same color, but filled. And so not only can you change the icons, the shapes, and the text, we've now added a new color option in the edit theme section. So I'm just going to go to edit theme. And we've now have this thing called special colors. And so special colors are essentially positive and negative theme defined values. So for this theme, I'm setting any attempt or any chance of me having a positive or a negative value in my deck. It'll just grab whatever colors I've set here in the positive and negative section. If I clicked it here, I could change it. It's not limited to green or red, but you can change it to whatever color you want. So here we are for this demo. It's going to stay green and red. I'll click cancel. And now I'll just show you how it looks on this waterfall chart. So I'm going to click on edit chart. There are no values, but here at the top, it says positive bar color, negative bar color. If I click it, I can select any of the other colors, but now those special colors will now appear in the menu as well. Currently today, the way the product works is these two palettes don't exist. So let's say I have a product revenue number and it's 958K. It automatically turned green, services revenue. And then let's say maybe our fixed costs are negative 654. And then our variable costs are negative 52. So it immediately made sure that it added those negative and positive colors that we set in the theme. So that's how it looks on charts. This is how it's going to look on tables. So there's two ways you can do it. First, there's a manual way. I see 2K here. I have negative 5K here. If I click it, I can just click on the color palette. And then there goes my special colors. So I can make this one green. And then I can make this one red. Or another way to do this, if I was just to highlight this one, this is -6 and this is +11. And then I click on this drop down. There's this option here that says change in value that it's existed already, but now the color that it's going to choose are your special colors. So when I go back, it automatically took -6. It automatically added +11 as green and red respectively. Next on the list of improvements are faster workflow. So as I said earlier, we've polished up some odds and ends, and we've really just focused on eliminating duplicative workflows. So for example, there were times in the product where if you had to click 3 times and then you were able to type into text, or if you wanted an item, you had to click a menu, click the submenu, click the submenu. It was a bit of a hindrance for our users. So we've removed all of that for a more optimal workspace or workflow. With that being said, we've added something called Jump To, which is essentially if you wanted, you have this photos with text slide, and I have 2 items, but maybe I preferred 6. Previously, all you had to do was click add item until you hit 6 times. Now, I'm just going to click undo. Now, all you have to do is click on this drop-down menu. You can click 4, you can click 6. And then you can go ahead and add that in. So that's saving you a bunch of time versus clicking add item 6 times. The number of items that appear here will vary depending on the type of slide. So for example, I'm just going to remove these. I'm going to click on variations and we're going to make this an icon list. So an icon list, the template itself supports up to 12 items. Oops, let's see. That's if I had some extra stuff removed from it, like if I remove this footer and then go to 12, perfect. So this particular template supports up to 12 items. So you can immediately jump to those 12. If you hit 12 and you're like, oh, that's going to be really busy, you can drop it down to 6. And then you can do all that with the add item feature. More on speed and better efficiencies with your workflow. We've now, prior to this canvas, the only way to make an edit to your image was you'd have to click on the image, then you'd have to click on replace or adjust image, and then you'd have to be able to make the changes from there. So it's about 4 different clicks. Now all you have to do is just double click on an image and immediately it'll bring up the adjust image options. And then from there, another camera, you could replace or remove the image from here. Next up on our enhancements are frames and lists. We've added a bunch of new styles across most of the templates. So you can now change an image and an icon to any frame or shape or fill style. We talked about fill style earlier with the icons. And we've also added a bunch of new list styles to our structured templates. I know that was a mouthful, so let's move on to this slide. First up is frame on our list. You're going to be able to change the frame of each of these images at both a slide level as well as an individual item level. So let's say I have these 3 images. All I have to do is click on this new button down here that's frame. I could change it rectangle, rounded, octagon. And then let's say, okay, this is fine, but maybe I don't want this one to have that octagon. Maybe I want to add this Mac display. And then for June, I want her to be this iPhone. And then maybe for Isla, she can be a Polaroid or something like that. So you'll be able to change the frames now for this feature actually lives across many different templates. So anywhere that there's an image option, an icon option, you should then have the option to upgrade the frame. And then again, there goes that new color button, so you can make the changes here too. We're going to be moving on to the next style list. So we now support a check style for our list option. So previously, you could, whenever you'd select a bullet points list, you'd either have a bullet, a number, or nothing at all. And so that would live down here where it says list style. We now support check. And so now here's this checklist. Let's say I'm done with this item or I'm not done with this item. I can just click on the item and then it automatically turns it to an X. I could click this and say, yes, this is done. This is complete. It'll turn green. And then you can de-emphasize completely. So it's done. And then we don't even need to talk about it. We don't need to do anything about it. This is where those special colors come in. So as you can see, this X is red. The check is green, and that's all because it's pulling everything from my special colors section. We've also added styles to options like the pyramid templates. So you've always had the ability to do text, and now we have sequence that's also existed. But now you have the option to create icons. So it says icons, but you're not limited to icons. It essentially means any asset that you have. So you can actually house icons here. You can house images as well as videos. So the next section we're going to be going over are our layout changes. So we've really just spent a lot of time going through all of the 60+ smart slides that we've had, and sort of attempted to see what type of layout changes can we make, how can we enhance it, what isn't working, what is working, but let's make it better. And so we've spent the last 6 months really just attempting to improve the different variations as well as the design. That being said, this one has to be one of my favorites. So we're going to use that column example again. Here I have my column, my bullet slide. And now I'll be able to create different columns. So if I click here, I'll grab this first X, and now I'll drag it to the right, and you see where it says add column. We'll click add column, and now there it is. Now this doesn't look any different sort of yet, because all I have to do now is click on this gear option and then do show column headers. So you can say, these are my pro lists. These are my cons list. You actually even have the option to do 3 columns. And then you can say, this is my NA list or something like that. Once you add items, it'll continue to add items on whatever column you were at. And then again, you just have to grab it and then reorder it to however you want. It does continue to support. So like here, this is a paragraph. You can make this a bullet or a numbered list. So this feature, we normally don't release beta features, but in this case, we do have a beta feature, and it's called Switch Template. So for folks who haven't noticed yet, this is where we normally have just the name of the template that you're using. When you reach out to support, you might say, something's wrong with my slide, and I'll ask you which template you're using, and that's the name of it. We've now added a sub-menu of items here. From classic slides to version history happen to live here in the more sections for those who are familiar with the tool. But we've now added this button here called Switch Smart Slide. And so Switch Smart Slide, say that 5 times fast, allows you to switch to any template within the product and not just those in the variations menu. For many of the slides currently, there's like a variation menu that lives at the bottom right corner of the slide. And then you'd only be limited to switching your slide for whatever is in those variations. But now this beta version will allow you to switch slides to any template available. So let's say you have this bullet point slide and you're like, all right, I have this product plan. I need to review, what are the deliverables? Who are the people working on it, et cetera. So you create this beautiful outline. And then you might think to yourself, cool, that's my outline, it has the information I need, maybe at a macro level, but I think I'd prefer to make this more visually appealing. So for this demo, I'm just going to click on duplicate. And then I'm going to go to bullet points here, switch smart slide. And then let's see, maybe we want to make this let me look for it here in the search. We'll just see how this looks if I was to make this a Gantt chart. Give it a second to load. And there we go. It took nearly all the information that I had on the previous bullet point slide, but notice that it removed some of this stuff here, like my description. It still lives on the slide somewhere. It's just for the Gantt chart, we don't have a place for that to live because that's not the use of a Gantt chart. You're sort of just going to want your high level names, topic names, deliverable names, etc. And that's what we ended up taking with us here. So I'm going to remove this image, which it also transferred over for you. And then let's say you're like, all right, this is beautiful. It's wonderful. It's perfect. But I noticed that I did have the actual people who were responsible for these tasks. Maybe your next thought is, I need to now showcase who these people are. So all you'll have to do, we're going to duplicate the slide, switch smart slide, and then we're going to look for our message carousel, which is right here. And now if you think about it, you now have 3 different slides, all from one original slide. So you created one slide or you wrote out one slide. You now have a second slide that's a Gantt chart, a third slide that's now a message carousel. So you can go through this and you're like, okay, wonderful, but I'm noticing something a little odd. Looks like these numbers are all out of order. Previously, before this Canvas refactor, the only way to reorder a message carousel, you had to go to variations, you'd have to select bullet, you'd reorder from bullet, and then you'd make it back into a carousel. It was absolutely exhausting. So we've now created a reorder button for message carousel, and it's going to display all of the slides that are in that carousel. So all of the pages. So here it is. All right, this is out of order. Let's move you up. Perfect. Let's say Marcus has left. So I'm actually going to remove the slide. And now I'm just going to use these 4 or 3 people. I'll click save. And now we only have these 3. And then I can go ahead and update this to 3. Probably put his name there. You also, with message carousel, we've added this position option. So now you won't be limited to just the left side of the screen. You'll now be able to move it to the right. And even when you're moving it, it's not going to move all of the pages. So if for some reason, or you had an artistic inclination to have this one on the left, and then maybe this one, we can move this one on the right. But then for this one, maybe I want to add that frame in, and for some odd reason, and then there you go. And then this next person will be on the right, but with no frame. Before we move on to new templates, I just realized I wanted to point out 2 things. We're going to go back a slide. So now we support in the header, there's 2 things. So now you see this new position button. For header, you can now move it to the left. You've always been able to do that. However, now we've now given you the option to resize the that left header. Previously, it would just sort of be stuck, and then we recognize that that was a lot of empty space. Maybe some folks wanted to use the left header for a different reason. So now it's just a double functioning option, I guess. So here, yeah, you can resize it here. I'm going to move it back to the top. And then the other thing that you can do here are background. You can now change the full color of the header. Previously, we only allowed you to do like block, and it would only do half of it or wherever the text ended. And so now this is all slide by slide level. You'll be able to change the color at the top. It does not yet live in edit theme, but I can imagine us adding this at a theme level later on down the road. But for now, you'll have this option for backgrounds. And then with that, I will be passing on the reins to Ken, who's going to introduce you all to the new templates.
So let me go ahead and share my screen first. Great, but thank you very much again, Fatima, for going over these UX updates. I'd just like to reiterate that we've only briefly touched on some of the amazing changes that are being added to the tool. Now, once these updates are released, I highly encourage everyone to play around with things so you can discover more things that may have not been showcased during this webinar. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these new template styles. So let's go ahead and get started with the big number template. Now, this template style is great for highlighting important stats that are not necessarily meant to be compared. Now, on this example slide, we can see I have my on-time delivery percentage. We're 92% up from the prior quarter. I also have an average production cycle, which is about 7 days, and our profit in sales, which is around 50K. Now, we can see that all these are different metrics, but when paired together on the same slide, it looks pretty dynamic. Now, the controls for this are really simple. As a friendly reminder, our controls are multi-layered. So as you click on the different items, you'll see different menu options come up. So on the first click here, we can see I can change the color of the cell. In this case, I don't want to do that, so I'll click it again. And now we'll see the second menu pops up. Now I can change the text scale. I can decrease that, and we'll see that all similar text styles will also decrease. just so that everything stays consistent. I can change the text color here, super easy. Can make it bold or add hyperlinks as well. So a lot of cool customizations there. And then Fatima mentioned earlier as well that we have the special colors. We can see that here as well, that I can make this a positive or a negative value at this, simple click. And then here at the bottom too, I can even add more items. We'll see that everything's automatically going to adjust as I add those items to the page. I can click on this and click on the X button to delete it as well. And we'll see that everything shifts back. I can easily click on layout and switch between filling or fitting the widths. So if I want to fill the entire page, I can click on this option and we'll see that that cell now takes up this entire page. And then, yeah, this is just a great way to really customize your slide. So don't be afraid to click on the different options just so that you could really make the slide your own. And then one last thing to point out in this slide is the settings option or the gear button right here. And then here you can turn off some of these options. So if we want to remove the label, take off the change of value, remove the description, we can do that as well and further customize this page. Now, again, seems like, really simple template, but just seeing all the changes and how you can display your information is really dynamic. So, even though it's simple, it's really strong. And then with that, we'll move on to our next new template, which is the countdown template. Now, this template style is great for displaying longer periods of time, something like how many more days till our next product launch. Or let's say if you worked in, construction, you can even count down. So let's say if we had, 100 days since our last accident, we could, have that metric up here and count down. Oh, we made it 100 days, no accidents. This is great. So, it's really up to your imagination what you want to use this slide for. And again, the controls are very simple. To set your date, you can easily click on this button here, set date and time at the bottom center. And then you can click on the calendar option and choose your date there. Unfortunately, it's displaying out of my page, but let's go ahead and increase that. There we go. We can see this calendar here. Great. Or you can even type in the date and time as well. Let me go ahead and enter that here. So we're going to do, it's 7, 5, great, 4 o'clock. Now we'll see that the time updated. Okay, it's not showing my time, super weird, but whatever. Count up, so we're going to count down. There we go, now it's 40 days. And then you can even turn off how many seconds you want to show. So another way to customize that as well. And again, it's a great visual. We see how many more days till this release is coming out. We even have a little video on the side. So a great way to display these metrics here. And then we'll go ahead and move on to our last new template, which is the timer template. Now, this is great for showing shorter periods of time. Let's say that you wanted to take a coffee break in the middle of your presentation. You can set a 10-minute timer and your audience knows that we're going to have a break for these next 10 minutes. Here at the bottom, you can set the duration, or you can double click on the timer as well and edit it that way instead. And another cool feature with this is that here you could click on settings and emphasize the remaining time. So here we set it at 1 minute. And as soon as we hit that 1 minute time frame, we'll see this timer is starting to pulse. So now this is a great way to point out to your audience that we're running out of time. So, now it's time to return to the presentation and get ready for, the next slides. So again, all these 3 template here, they're new and they're available to everybody. It doesn't matter your plan status. You can use any of these. And though they may seem simple, they are very powerful and a great way to show your data. And then one last thing I do want to mention with this timer slide is that when you go to, present it, the timer automatically restarts. So you won't have to worry about it, showing the incorrect time. But with that, we'll go ahead and move on to the QA portion. And Fatima.
Thanks, Ken. I love your little slogan, simple but powerful. And I would say that actually fits pretty much what Beautiful AI is. It's a simple yet powerful tool to allow y'all to visualize your information and easily allow you to create really good looking slides. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We have some questions that are coming up. So I just want to allow this to pop up. Okay. All right, I'm going to start from the bottom. All right, Question, Fong. Yes. So Fong asks, are these updates only available for the paid license? As Ken mentioned a moment ago, all of the updates that I've mentioned today will be available across all of the plan status. So if you are a basic user, one of our team users or our pro users, you'll have access to all of the templates and all of the features. Idris asks, have you added any functionality to make it easier to present on Zoom without having to export to PowerPoint? We've always had the option to present directly from your browser, just as I have this here. I think, let me see if I could switch how I'm sharing. So essentially here let me click escape. So to share on Zoom, like we've just done now, all you'll have to do is click on this play button up here. You can either play from that current slide or present from the beginning. So I'll just do play from current slide. It then launches open in full screen your slides, and then, or like half screen, it still shows my URL. But then here, this button here, you could click full screen, and then we're gonna do full screen. And I think you all can see it. So now this is the full screen version of my slides. And then because you're a presenter, there's another button down here where it says presenter. When you click that, it's gonna open a second window that y'all can't see right now because the way I'm sharing my screen. So give me 1 second. Let me just adjust my monitor really quick. And I'm gonna change up the share. All right. So you all should be able to see my entire monitor. And now here it is. I have the screen on the right. This is what everyone else, your audience, should be viewing when you do select that in the Zoom. And then here are my presenter notes. So I could, as any action I'm making on this little presenter window, if I click through, it's automatically making that same action on the right. And then if you had notes available, you can put all of your notes here. Then you have a timer on this at the bottom. It'll tell you this first one is I've spent 13 seconds on this particular slide. And then the timer here is going to show you how much time you've spent on the presentation in its entirety. Then you could even jump ahead. Let's say you're like, oh no, that looks outdated, or I'm just going to skip that because I don't have time. You'll be able to skip that here in the presenter section. While I'm sharing my screen, another pre-question that came through the registration forms, someone had asked a question about PowerPoint. So we recently updated or created a PowerPoint add-on. You'll need to go through the steps in, and I'll make sure to add this in the notes after the presentation that we email out to y'all. But we actually now have an add-on with PowerPoint. So all you'll have to do is you'll add us through the add-on section in the Microsoft Store. But essentially, what's going to happen is it's going to load. If I wasn't logged in, it'll ask me to log in. And then it's going to load like this little widget. I should have probably clicked this earlier. There we go. It now says I can go to my library or I can add a slide. So if I click add slide, it'll then take me to my library, which I think you guys can see. Yes, because I'm sharing my screen. So then it'll take me to my library, and then I'll be able to pull slides from Beautiful that I've created in Beautiful, and then edit them in Beautiful, and then it'll automatically connect to the deck that I'm working in right now. It'll tell you which theme do you want to start with. You can click create slide. And then let's say I want this bullet point slide. We'll start a blank one. Live webinar. I'll do save as PowerPoint. It'll save. And now here goes that slide. So you're not limited to using PowerPoint or to using Beautiful, but if there are capabilities or slides or templates that you like that you've maybe already created with Beautiful, but you're working with someone who is solely working in PowerPoint, that you need to encourage them to use Beautiful. You can easily just add this Beautiful AI add-in, and then you can continue working that way. All right, the next question that came in, when will the new templates and features be available? We're 2 weeks away, fingers crossed. Someone asked, how do you upload and delete fonts? I'll quickly go over that one. Any changes you need to make with your brand. We had a couple questions on adding your logo. How do you customize your brand? All of that is done in the edit theme section. So when you first create a presentation, you might, as a first-time user, you're going to end up having one of our pre-built pre-built themes. Then once you open that presentation, you'll click on edit theme. And then here you're going to add all of your colors. So all you'll have to do is click on add, click on that, and then add your hex value or whatever the other codes that you have available. And then it'll add that color. You'll even be able to reorder. So you make all those changes. The person who asked about fonts, here you'll be able to upload your font. You'll just click on this drop-down menu, click on upload fonts at the bottom, and then that's how you'll be able to upload your font.
Can you cover how to delete the custom fonts as well?
Thank you. That is correct. So all you'll have to do is click on this more button and then delete font. It's telling me I can't delete it because it's being used in a presentation, this one. And then it'll tell you, are you sure you want to delete? And then you're deleting it. This is actually a bug that we literally discussed Friday that we're going to fix. But once I move it to, let's say I move the font to something else, and then I'll delete it, and then it'll delete. And then to add your footer, you'll add that here. So you'll make sure that your show footer by default is set to on, as well as your logo. And then you'll add the version of a logo when it's on a light colored background versus a dark colored background. What that essentially means is if I look at the preview here, and I look there at Beautiful.ai, if I go to colors, and let's say I make my default to this dark blue, it now took the version of the logo on a dark colored background. So you just need to set that here. And then to save, click apply changes. I'm not going to save because I don't want to ruin this. And then it'll apply all of your changes.
And then we also have a handful of questions in the panel. The first one being with the Gantt chart example you did, showing the switch chart templates. They're wondering if you would be able to interact with the slide to see that text in the descriptions.
Yeah, so hold on. If I'm understanding correctly, let's go back. Where are... Actually, no, there isn't a description availability, like that long description, but you can, if you were referring to that, and then I could just type directly here. So Justine's set of tasks here.
Gotcha.
And then you'll be able
to switch back one slide just to show the example. We'll go back one page. Not this one, or this one too, but so when we converted it from the original bullet list into the Gantt chart, it only saved the deliverables, so that header text versus, you know, the description below.
Correct.
Those extra bullets, yeah. So it won't be displayed in the Gantt chart, but it will appear if you switch it out to one of the other template styles.
Great call out, exactly. So again, sometimes you'll still have that information was still here. The reason those photos appeared was because I happened to originally have this slide as an icon slide where I preloaded the images. So that's how all of a sudden those icons appeared in the Gantt. But when I clicked variations to bullet, they weren't there. But the Gantt chart is not meant to have a huge amount of text anyways, because of the nature of the chart itself. So it's a visual, you're talking about your projects. It's mostly like a high level view. And then what you could do is you have your Gantt chart, you could supplement it with either that message carousel, with something like this bullet point slide, which is your product plan report that sort of has an outline. You could also, if you wanted to, there are options. Oh, not milestone. What you can do too, you can add a layout here. We'll add a text box. And then you can add notes on that. So if I made this a bullet point, and then I called this D1, and then D2, and then D3. And then here, you'd have to copy and paste it in, but then add body or description here. And now you'd have a little bit more information depending on what the slide that you want here.
Perfect. And then the next question was, how does the counter export? Does it export as a GIF or a video? So right now at the moment, it'll actually export as a still image. So whatever the timer was at last, whatever the page you had it at, so if it was at a minute 30, it would export at a minute 30. Unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to edit the item in PowerPoint either. The reason being is that there's technical challenges with converting that over to their software. So we just made it a still image when you export it. And then the next question would be, did we cover animations in this presentation? We didn't cover animations, but we can briefly talk about them now. And if you want to like a demo or, a training, we can always, set that up after the call. But just to show them, they're really easy. By default, you can have it on a click setting or on a time setting, so it'll automatically advance. And there's a couple of timing customizations as well. So if you wanted the items to appear sequentially, staggered or at the same time, and then you can play around with the speed. And then we also have a custom option. So this will open up a panel with all the items that can animate on that page. If you highlight over the item, you can see which one it's highlighting there. And then you can easily drag and move them around to change their position and when they animate. And then if you move your mouse cursor in between those two items, you'll see a plus button that will allow you to add when you want to add that delay or have it appear by a click. So really simple animations. Our whole idea is that simple is more, or less is more. So we want to keep the animations as simple as possible.
Awesome. So we had a couple more questions. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
Oh no, go ahead. Yeah, you're good.
We had a couple more questions from our registration that we'll quickly be going over. Let's pull those up. So Neural asks, manual editing without the AI, but still adjusting on the page theme. So we have this concept that we call, like our take on the traditional authoring slides, we call them classic slides. So those live here at the top. And so all you'll have to do is you'll click on one of them, it'll create it. You'll know it's a classic slide because here the name of the template is changed to classic. And so here you can add text, say title, scribble there, and then it should pull from, here it is, these are my theme colors. It's automatically pulling from my theme colors, but it does give you a bit more control over colors that maybe you don't have in the other places in the smart templates, in that it'll actually allow you to change outside of the theme colors. So my theme color is not this little purpley blue color, but you can make it that way there. In that same vein, someone had asked, is it possible to convert slides? So we do have the option when you're using a smart slide. I'm gonna grab this bullet template. And let's pretend that, I'm just gonna remove this and we're gonna add a couple of more items. There. So here we are, we've added all these items. And then in theory, I might hit a guardrail that says, hey, you've added too many items to this slide. And so what you can then do is click on the drop-down menu at the top and click Convert to Classic. This then converts your smart slide from a smart slide to a manual authored slide. And so now if I wanted to, I could grab all of this text, and then I get another set of submenu of options. Let's go here. And I could do something insane like that, and then be done with it, or add more items here, however, whatever whatever extra you'd like to do with this. I click Control Z to undo. I can undo again. Once it's a classic slide, unfortunately, there's no way to make it a smart slide, as in the changes, but you can revert back to a smart slide. So when you go here, more, click on version history, it'll tell you when you converted it. So this is the timestamp when I converted to a classic. So I have classic slides, and then these are the slides when they weren't classic. So these are the smart slides version, and I can keep going down. You click out and then you save it that way. We have time for, there's about 2 more questions. We're gonna quickly go over, when you're adding a slide, you can add slides that you've created in the past. So let's say you go to copy slide, you go to browse presentations, someone has shared a presentation with you that you really like the slide that they created there, you can just click on, or it's a slide that you created in a previous presentation. Let's say I click on the scope of work deck, and I'm like, okay, I loved the milestones and the tasks menu here. And notice the color, it's black. And then I click copy selected slides. And then when I added it in, it ended up adding in those slides with my current theme. So even though the other theme was using a different set of colors, this one added in using my colors. So if I change this background to white, here goes my milestone, here goes my task list. Again, it automatically used the blues from my deck with my font, as well as my logo. In the same way that you can add slides, let's say you have an image that someone has shared with you or you've used in a previous deck that you'd like to reuse. You could, but you don't actually have the physical file. You can just click on the camera icon. It'll take you into our image library. And then you go into the Find in Slides section. You can select the deck. Let's say it's the scope of work deck again. And then I say, all right, this is the image that I needed. And then bam, you've automatically now added that asset to this deck. I think. Cool. Ken, was there anything else you'd like to add?
I think everything on my end should be good.
Awesome. Oh, Carlos just asked a quick question about hyperlinking. We only support hyperlinking of text. There's no hyperlinking of images yet, but it's definitely on our radar and on sort of on our feature wish list. So you can hyperlink text. Click OK. So you won't be able to click that hyperlink here, but you can when you're in present mode. You can then click it and then it'll send you to our Beautiful.ai or whatever link that you set it to. Awesome. Well, this concludes our event. I just want to thank everyone for spending some time with us on this Wednesday morning, afternoon / evening. We've come to the end of the webinar, and I'd really just love to know what your thoughts are on the event. So when we do send you out a copy of the deck, it'll also have a feedback form. Please feel free, be honest. Let us know how we did, what features you found helpful, what things you didn't find helpful. And then you'll also, in that same email, it'll contain a link to the recording, the deck, and then any extra information. Again, the Canvas Polish release will be released in about 2 weeks. And so just look out for an email, we'll be announcing it. But yeah, other than that, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their morning, afternoon, evening. And it was really great spending time with y'all today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.